2025 has come and gone, and this should be the last interview that we put out this year. And what an interview. I honestly did not expect this to happen at all. We got to spend over 90 minutes talking to Shawn Clown Crahan from Slipknot. You see, Clown is releasing a Minecraft server called Vernearth, and it's just insane. I spent some time on it and I got eaten by T-Rexes. It is trying to bring Slipknot fans and Minecraft fans together and just allowing gaming to do what it does best, unite people. And that is something that we can definitely get behind. It was incredible to spend so much time talking to Clown, and he answered our questions in a lot of words. The first question we asked him was about his gaming history, and the answer is over 25 minutes long. It was a blast to talk to him about everything that we could, from gaming to his art, music, to Vernearth itself, the server, and how long he's been working on it, and what it was like to direct movies. There is a lot in here, and we barely scratched the surface. I hope that you enjoy this as much as I enjoyed doing it, and thank you so much for the support during this year. Enjoy. I'm really curious to know, you've got this Minecraft server coming out, but like your gaming roots go back real far. Like I've seen in interviews you talk about Quake and Doom and Wolfenstein, and that you even have like an Atari in the studio that you have, and like you mentioned Asteroid and things. Like how, when you were growing up, like how much time did you get to play games? Like, were you a case of like you played games a little, or was it just like gaming was the thing that attracted you for like your hobbies and stuff?
Well, I'm trying to think. I've been trying to put together the exact time without looking it up and knowing the exact time. But
Yeah.
basically, the story goes, I pretty much lost my best friend to video games over like running around the woods, fishing, doing the things that we did growing up. I can remember the first time Atari showed up in the basement. We were outside messing around in the rain. There were all these toads. One friend got really, wet and cold, went back. And I remember coming back and completely seeing how immersed he was in video games. I can't remember the game he was playing, but we fell in love with like role-playing games.
Yeah.
More fantasy driven, anything we could get our hands on. Real quick, do you hear that sink?
No.
Hey. All right. Thank you. Sorry. People like to just start doing things right when I have to do things.
Life happens.
Funny.
It's totally
Yeah,
fine.
it's good. We'll just put this on the 70 million people that are gonna see it and just bust some people out. Anyway, so back on track. Basically, yes, video games my whole life. I remember Atari showing up right after that. My parents got me an Intellivision, to which I just systematically tried to buy all the games. And back then, there were some cool things that happened, like in department stores. Before there were actual gaming stores,
Yeah.
there were like Sears and Roebuck, right? So you could go into Sears and they'd dedicate a whole area to the Atari. They'd have it on a TV. They'd let you come and play. Your parents would be shopping. You'd go down there and get in line and play games. It was a big deal. So anyway, it all started with like the TV consoles with the very, very simplest games you could ever imagine. We all talk about Pong, of course. But yeah, then when computers finally hit my life, I want to say around 90, 91, 92, something like that. I went straight into video games, and this is after new consoles are sitting in our den in our living room, like Turbo Graphics. I had a game called Bonk. Then there was Neo Geo.
Yeah.
I had to have them. It's not that I had to have them all. It's just that every company had awesome games, one of a kind games. So you had to kind of explore each one of them. So once the computer started getting consumer friendly enough, I
Yeah.
remember struggling with the modem was the biggest thing. Not only did you have to struggle with the modem, but you had to struggle with your phone line, and so that was a big thing. But during that period of waiting to get online, like I said, I was playing Wolfenstein, anything and everything Doom. I'd go into the game shop and they'd have discs in the kiosks, 1001 levels, Doom 2. And some of them just were 30 seconds long and maybe not made poorly, but they were still introduced with the rest of them. So that was just fascinating. And then there were off games like Redneck Rampage. Then it moved up to like, one game that was really stable. And I bring it up because it's really important. Like what I'm doing is really came from things like being able to get on and deathmatch
Yes.
and capture the flag and one on one, all this kind of stuff. Um, it was a big deal, but it's a lot different now. It looks different. People treat it differently. It really had a look, and I can remember sometimes signing on to get in like Quake World, and it would just take forever because you'd have to download all the new skins everybody was making. And from every comic book character you could think to just obscure things people would make, from Sasquatch to whatever. So that's a very important to all this, because once I was able to be in my own dwelling and interact with a culture, that was a game changer. But what I wanted to say is one game was, just to come back, Duke Nukem. That was one
Yeah.
very stable game, and it was pretty much the game that ended up blowing my mind away with just what it means to, there was a hologram in there. And I'm not someone who could probably understand something like that, but I did leave it out, and someone came through a thing, shot at it. I did, and then I was able to shoot at them from a hidden area and kill them. I did it again. They fell for it again. Third time, I kept me there instead of the hologram, and they're like, "I'm not going to fall for that a third time." But it's me now, and I kill them, and boom, my brain. And I've been telling people, Quake, id gave out the OpenGL, and between being able to be online and fight someone like my best friend in a game like Quake or Doom or what have you, and then on top of it, it's just to run around across town on a phone line and be able to text. These were big deals. They seem so elementary now, so simple, like just the musts before anything works. But back then, I'll tell you, if you could get on for 15 minutes and run around without getting kicked off, you were considered lucky, and you'd get right on the phone and call your bros and talk about what you experienced. And those kinds of things were just, between being able to program in OpenGL and make things and see what people made, listen to music, see imagery people would import. I mean, I would take pictures of my grass and rocks, and I would bring them in as skins and utilize them within the level I was allowed to create. These were just things for me that were natural, because since I was communicating to a culture and I was invited into a culture and I was partaking in the culture, um, I immediately wanted to introduce my art always. So this is just what I've done my whole life, is create and then, offer is not a good, art is we to me. So I love to share and I also love to collab. And, it just seems what I've been doing since I was a little kid. So gaming and the intensity of the programming, the wide diversity of the ability to code what you can code from skins to, right now I'm really studying utility, so to speak, in, like in Minecraft, there's redstone and,
Yeah.
you can attach a glowstone, a lamp to the redstone and it'll light up, and that's the utility. And to me, visually in your brain, you're being taught that it's just a redstone cube, but visually in your head, you're connecting this digital motherboard, so to speak. And, wow, that is just something that is so interesting to me, that block can have utility and do things that you have to use your imagination. So Minecraft has, automated villagers that farm. So the culture learn how to capture the villager, the farmers, and audit, pardon me, capture the villager, utilize the automation for themselves when they're sleeping. They wake up, their chests are full of seeds. Did they know? Did the company know they were going to do that? I suspect. I would say they had to have known something of farming, but they got to wake up every day and just be amazed at what the culture has invented. And they go deep, they know the tick rate, they know spacing. It's almost like they had a job there, and they're like, well, the iron golem falls from here into this, and you need this and this. And I mean, wow, this stuff is deep. And I wasn't very good at math, so to learn it and stuff like this, it's really difficult for me. So the reward's high. So I'm studying utility now, and that's a lot. I gave you a lot, but why I gave you all that in such a scattered brain, I'm pretty known for being scattered. But why I gave you that is, I guess the minute someone like me, 56 years old, was introduced to Pong, black and white Pong. Okay. I mean, you can imagine how hard it was to hold a rectangle in your hand that had a circle on it that you had to turn left and right to go up and down. All right. So, I mean, you're going right to go down, left to go up, whatever. Your tongue's hanging out. This was something introduced to the general public that was different. So the minute I was introduced to Pong, I was also introduced to the idea of, how is this possible?
Yeah.
How am I watching these lines move on a television set? How is it these wires? And you'd get the game and you'd look at, there's always a little bit of the motherboard hanging out with the brass connective part that connects to the machine. And you're like, what the hell is that? So of course, one of my games that I don't like or whatever, I take it apart to examine it. I'm like, computers, it's just,
yeah.
So I always, I like glitch, and I just, what is as fascinated with the game, I was as fascinated as, how does this work? And what if I did this? And what if this, so moving forward, that's between my love of video games and trying about every video game. And then, growing up in the real cool stuff, like I remember when PlayStation first hit, Doom had a secret level where the skeletons are in a disco club. And Doom was so scary that I remember surround sound was a brand new thing, and I had gone to Sears and bought a surround sound unit, and I had attached it in a room myself, and I was enjoying it. And, a lot of video games didn't have a lot of that going on. The Doom, I can remember my family being asleep and literally, muting the TV and literally like looking around my house like, hello, hello, just freaked out. And again, that's fascinating to me. And I'm like, God, I have to harness this. I love music, and that's right around the time I'm really jamming with Paul Gray, and we're contemplating Slipknot, and Joey's just about ready to be over and start, just the whole thing. So I mean, gaming, then being on the road, I can remember us being on a bus with two giant CD holders, black ones, that held like hundreds of CDs. So you had two of them. You had one that would be for all the music, and you'd swap with band members, and then the other one would be quite smaller, and it'd be full of video games, and we'd have all the stuff there. And we were there when Call of Duty hit, all the Medal of Honor stuff, I mean, man, I've been so fortunate in my life. I bought my kids. I was just looking the other day. I got a studio, and I'm going through my books, and I found the original book that came with the game World of Warcraft. And I was looking at the original book, and I was like, oh my God, the original game was so hard. I couldn't do it. There was so much grinding for nothing, but it was so amazing. But my best friend, I would bring him to the studio, and that's how I'd get him to come to LA with me. I'd be like, I'll buy a computer that can play World of Warcraft, and you can solve this and grind while I'm grinding drums. And so that's what we would do. So I'm giving you all this because now that I'm talking to you about it, I'm like, wow, I have been there. Basically, I just feel very blessed and fortunate to have been there pretty much when every company of art has released their anomaly from World of Warcraft to Grand Theft Auto to Call of Duty, even the Star Wars games, even the James Bond games. The James Bond games on PlayStation or Xbox. I can't remember. I think it might have been Xbox, but the cheats were big head modes. That was the first time I really
on N64.
Yes. That's it. That's right. And I can remember being out in the snow and up on a mountain looking at these guys trying to run up on me with these big heads. And that's part of it, the cheats and the things that the companies would allow you to do. And these are all things. And then to end this thought process, when it really got fun for me, and then I got serious, was Unreal Tournament happened. And then I would freak out on like these giant rooms. So you'd be, really small in a living room, and the table would just, and I love those levels, and it really got my brain going. And then right off of that, after that was Gary's Mods and Goat Simulator. And, I would hope that my brain would go to both of those easier, but it took the longest time for anything to connect correctly to where my brain was just simply blew up off of my head when I finally connected some odd stuff in both Goat Simulator and Gary's Mod to where I finally understood. And that's pretty much what Minecraft was that I have 4 children. They all played differently. Some liked Redstone, some didn't. Some liked to live in the Nether, some didn't. Some defeated the dragons, some didn't. But as a dad, watching them and then, continuously buying it and helping install or what have you, I would always tease him. I'd be like, you're just throwing blocks. I'm just like, you're throwing pixelated. I'm like, these guys are genius. I'm like, they're just like, they brought it. I'm like, everyone else is chasing high definition, and these guys are down to simple pixels. I'm like, they get the trophy. I'm
Yeah.
like, it, because in rock and roll, you record on 2-inch tape or directly to Pro Tools. Now, 2-inch tape is never going to disappear. You can still use it, but you don't. And if you do, we like to think you can still hear it. So it's cool that people, still, I don't know. I'm trying to. I got so much on my mind right at the moment. That, to bring that around, basically Minecraft and my kids, I would be like, look, this game is pretty genius. It makes me go outside and look at everything in blocks where I can actually clean up my house easier in my brain when I'm outside, because I'm doing this block thing. And then, long story short, one day I got involved in something that was Minecraft oriented. And I just remember someone coming over trying to build with me, but I was intimidated. So I tried to kill him, but I wasn't good enough. So then my bro said, why don't you build a wall? And so I started building walls, and here we are. Here we are all these years later. Vernearth became this giant plot of land I made called the Dome because of something my mom made. And it's a huge story, man, but a lot of it is what you asked me, growing up and just being awed by every company that ever, from Guitar Hero. I mean, man, it goes to, like my kids played like Harvest Moon. I mean, my mom played Zelda, I mean, like I've seen it all. I've touched all of it one way or another, and got to see the great minds of the digital world make art. I was telling someone yesterday, Quake was the first game that I remember where bots, basically mobs, I think it was level 4, the knights, you'd come around a corner and this knight would see you. And it was kind of scary. So you'd run if you didn't take it on. And it was the very first mob I remember that would chase you all the way back to the beginning, wherever you went.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a game changer. The math and the coding has upped the ante. And, I've got to be a part of all this. And then all 4 of my kids, it's the only game that all of them really played. And because they were so creative in it, it caught my attention. And watching them was more fascinating than me trying. And then, like I said, I got involved with a exercise, a project, and it just threw me head first. And I found me. And once I learned about the automation and farms, and I thought this game is way deeper than anyone knows on just how far deep Minecraft really is. I mean, it's just so. Anyway, sorry, you can cut all that up and get rid of what you
No.
want. But kind of hit a lot of stones. I like being asked about video games because, geez, I'm blessed for every Christmas. There's a bar, and 4 of my kids are like, I need this. I need the new Grand Theft Auto. I'll be like, nope, you're still grounded from that. You're not getting it. But I would buy it, and,
Yeah.
good behavior. No, I'm just having fun. But yeah, man, gaming. We used to skip lunch as a small young man. We would run as fast as we could, sneak out of the auditorium at school, and run as fast as we could to a supermarket called Super Value. And they had video arcade games in the entryway where the carts were.
Yeah.
So a lot of adults weren't really paying attention to that entryway until one day they ratted us out that a bunch of these kids should be at lunch in school, and we were all up there. But that's how important video games were. We were willing to risk it all to go up and play Gorf, Defender, of course, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, all these things. I mean, we were willing to get scolded, detention, because the digital revolution had hit and it had our mind's eye. We were in fact connected. We were
Yeah.
going to be connected for all time.
And you've brought up so much memories for me because I remember like Doom and Wolfenstein were the first games that I ended up kind of encountering, and then I went back from there, and it was like Missile Command and
Oh,
Asteroids, and just seeing those like what those old games were trying to do. And then you mentioned the night and stuff, and it's like I remember in Quake 3 Arena, it hit at just the right age for me that it blew my mind, and I couldn't tell if I was playing against people or bots because they would smack talk you when they killed you, and so I was like, is that a player doing that?
exactly, man. When those sorts of things hit the market, there's great young artistic minds sitting around conference tables with suits
Yeah,
who are demanding price points and ideas and only allotting so much money for the mind's eye to create what's in the subconscious. So when those things hit the mark and those lovely artists get those points across, we really do feel them. And it changes our day. It makes us want to get out of work early. It can, anything in this life, too much can be a problem. But,
yeah.
I think we've all proven just how much games have affected our ability to love an emotion and a feeling. I'm with you. It's funny that you bring up Quake Arena because right around that time, you know, I'm basically taking music as serious as I possibly can,
Yeah,
and the gaming is starting to fall out a little bit for me because, ironically enough, the quality is getting so good that I am unable to tell what is real and what's not real, meaning I'm running down a hallway and normally all of what I'm looking at would be a graphic that might get me into a secret world. So whereas in like a game like Quake, the wall is a repetitive pattern,
yeah,
really well disguised, but it's a pattern. And when the patterns changed a little bit in the middle or something, now we might have a secret room. We might have a secret hallway. Um, when I got to Arena, I was like, geez, like everything is just on a level of amazement that I am lost my way in gaming. And really it wasn't until World of Warcraft sucked me in hardcore did I was I able to get back in. They have their own look, so it's easy for me to understand things more. But I'm with you. Yeah. Whenever the companies would get something, even what you're saying, that's a big deal. You're like,
yeah.
geez. And if I'm not told that it's not a human, basically, I could be sitting here and really never even get the truth, whether it is or not. And this is amazing. Even the developers, I guarantee you, they want to be hush hush about it. They'll be like, you know, go with it. So, yeah, man, I love that stuff.
I promise we'll talk about Minecraft in a sec, but I'm really curious. What
Oh,
was it
well,
about Deathmatch that kind of drew you into it? Because I know that even in Vernearth, like Deathmatch is important to you, and like it was important when you were gaming in the past as well. What is it that just is it that it's against real people?
well, this is a great, 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 great question. Honestly, I always come up with my answers when people are talking to me
Yeah.
as a root. I get a starting point for me, so I stay focused. And so when you were asking that, I went through a couple things. I'm going to be completely honest here. It has nothing absolutely with killing other people.
Okay.
In fact, it's just the opposite. It's that where I'm from, it was you were playing a game.
Yeah.
You were playing, math. Run now, don't run now. This guy's coming out. Like there was so much strategy. And then all of a sudden, someone invents this thing called deathmatch. And we'll get back to the name. I've been so strongly advised that I can't call it that anymore. It's got to be called player versus player. And that just
It's
bores
it's
me.
it's deathmatch. Like, yeah.
Yeah, deathmatch will always be deathmatch to me. I have a lot of people get on me about that. And I'm just like, I understand, but I don't understand. I want everybody to be safe. But anyway, back to it. Um, so you have to understand that when deathmatch was introduced, it was almost like going into a store and buying another disc and adding a mod to the game.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that had been there from Pong. So the point is that the developers had created a space that we all could be in that actually worked.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Well, I could never play the first level of Doom and run around with you. I couldn't do that. But now it has made it possible for us, to get in there and run around and kill each other, and even have things in there. So the point is I'm on a stable platform made by the company because remember, we're dealing with computers, we're dealing with phone lines, just your house trying to come up to date with the future. So you appreciate it when a company has created this area. I mean, those were the first message boards. Those were the first guest books where
Yeah.
you literally. So how do I slam that idea home? Well, I literally remember so many Slipknot skins. We made our own. We mainly wore blue coveralls before we were signed, and we were playing Quake and things before, and we would definitely, Craig would put up skins, we would make them, we would all get on because we just couldn't believe you could get on. I could see my friends. I could be like, what is up? And then, I could be another member or I could be Batman. And, let's just admit it, there wasn't a lot of regulation. It was a
No.
free for all. It
Yeah.
was a free for all. No one could get on their brand and just the love. I mean, let's take something like a Batman brand. Today I'm guessing they'd be very protective of it, as I would. It's
Yeah.
you work hard for your brand, but back then, literally the community, the culture is representing your brand. They're running around as Batman, going, "I love Batman. Go watch it, do it." So it's like we're personal posters of pop culture, and it was a free for all. It was not only did they give you the platform, but they also allowed you to have make your own levels and make your own things. And deathmatch, I can just remember hundreds of people. I can remember getting on Quake World and I can remember telefragging people, just going in and out of the portal. And there were so many people playing that people are just spawning through the portals that because I'm going back and forth, I'm just telefragging someone like every 4 seconds. And the whole culture just gets so mad because I'm so bad at playing
Yeah.
that I have to camp. I have to utilize these abilities to get anywhere in life in those games because you're dealing with people that are just so amazing at gaming. So it really, death matching was the sole reason you had community. The computer world was still working on message boards and there were no Reddits, there were no Wikipedias. I tell the story of Slipknot on our webpage. We had a guest book. I mean, it's every social you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
That's your Instagram. That's this. That's that. I would get up in the morning and I would have 300 messages on the guest book. We would drop new music ourselves, and the computers and the streaming wasn't good enough to have more than 10 megs, and you had to have a crappy MP3, and you'd be lucky if that played, and it took all night just to get that thing working. But then people would hear a loop, and we'd put the loop out of context, start the loop on measure 4, have it go in, and people just, we just play games.
Yeah.
And people would leave links to their sites, to their work, to their bands, to their labels, to their houses, to whatever. And so, what a wonderful world to come up in for me, and a lot of us, because, the unregulated world of imagination is why it's still running today. And what I'm trying to provide in Vernearth, besides a very in-depth personal story that deals with grief, behavioral health, mental illness, also community, the love of video games. There's so much to this. But, overall, it's just built in me. And death matching, I don't, if you were following Vernearth when it came up, the way I got everybody started working and understanding me, and believe me, it can be very difficult to understand me. And I believe it's probably because I talk too much, and people just sometimes say, I'm done. And that's okay. So I wasn't getting my point across on exactly what I wanted to do. And by showing what I had created, the way I was able to get it started was to say, okay, I want Vernearth to be nothing but a player versus player server. And then all of a sudden, I was able to get a developer who was working with me on something else, and sandbox oriented. And I brought him over to this, and I started building a level called Uneaten. And if you were there, so, when Vernearth opened, there was a couple levels. I don't remember. I think it was the Circle Sphere and Uneaten were opened. And as of right now, I probably have, I don't know, 30, 40 levels that I've created with weird psychosis that goes into them. Like, the builders that I have sometimes wonder what I'm doing. I'll enclose an entire plot of land of villagers, and then put frog light behind it through glass. And, after about 20 minutes in there, you start getting fatigued psychologically. I'm playing with the beautifulness of what Minecraft has given me. They've given me blocks that create more light. They create this weird shadows, and there's color schemes. And I play off of all the canvas of the colors and the lighting. And so I can really mess with people. And so my art becomes very unlinear, I believe. It really becomes 3D in the sense of exploring. So in Vernearth, you're going to see that we are going to continuously be giving the deathmatch levels, and they will go as far as to turn into Capture the Flag. I love Capture the Flag. I used to do it for real without paintball guns. I mean, we literally, that's what I grew up doing. There was giant camps that you could rent for birthdays, and we would divide all of us, and we would literally play Capture the Flag. And when that came into video gaming, my brain just melted again, because it's something I did in reality. So deathmatch, really, why such an interesting question is I could see people thinking that my fascination is that I just get to blast on the community, or the community gets to blast on me. And really, just thinking about it, it's just, that's where I get to see the community most. And now that we're in 2025, you can see me being with the community, building a tunnel. I like to build tunnels. I like to build secret tunnels that go right under people's thought processes, and they have no idea I'm right there. and I'm getting them to help me now. And at any given time, there could be 8 of us working in tandem together very politely. And that's what I love. I don't know who these people are. I it forces you to be very, someone like me, I got to be very careful. So I just try to keep it the game, and of
Yeah.
course I'm going to get a lot of questions, but I get a lot of questions anyway. If I'm at a show, I could be asked a question by an 8-year-old to an 80-year-old.
Yeah.
So I got to be ready all across the board. So it's no problem for me to go in there and be with the culture, whether it's strict Minecraft culture or strict Slipknot culture, because Vernearth is not a Slipknot server. It's a Vernearth server. It's bought and purchased by Shawn Crahan, um, utilizing the engine of Minecraft. Areas are themed Slipknot and other things, but it's nothing but respect and honor to the wonderful platform of Minecraft. And I'm simply just trying to offer something that I don't want to say enhances it, because that sounds that,
Yeah.
but I'm so inspired by it. I'm like, I got to do this. Maybe there's other people like me that want to experience this crazy color psychosis I'm utilizing, and water and lava. Like, I do weird things, and I ask for weird things, and I make weird things. We have 1,200 block we've made. I've made a cult for the culture of NPCs. I think I got like 600 NPCs we've made. I have a leader. I have all these different clans, and they are all going to be the things that explain the lore. So you're going to be out in the Oblivion building any way you want. And all of a sudden, just out there in the Oblivion, there's going to be an NPC hanging out by a tree. And if you right mouse click it, it'll have a story of the lore. And that, I'm hoping people will take that lore to the Discord and help build the myth or whatever we're going for here. I have a
Yeah.
lot. It's just too hard for me to do it all at once. So, deathmatch is everything. It's a way of saying hi. It's a way of saying I build a new skin. Hey, everybody, download it. If you want to play and you want these skins, and then next thing you know, I would be a ghost and somebody would be playing me going, hey, you're wearing my skin. And that'd build up a conversation and, some cool stuff, man. But yeah, that's a cool question, because normally, I'm doing a lot of Slipknot interviews my whole life, and now I get to partake. I've had plenty of games we've done, and partaked in and contributed, but nothing like this. So this is a lot of fun for me, because I get to bring it all up.
Yeah.
And so anyway.
I think it's really funny because like reading some of the like the little bits and pieces that other sites have put out, or like seeing some of the interviews, it's really interesting seeing people from the music side being like, Clown from Slipknot is making a Minecraft server, and it's like they don't there's a really great interview you did with Nick something or other last year, and
Nick,
like you,
Nick Nocturnal.
yes, Nick Nocturnal, and you like he went deep into your gaming stuff, and like that was really fascinating to see because it was from the approach of being about games, and like you talked about like all the things we've talked about already. You talked about World of Warcraft, you talk about Minecraft and stuff, and it's really great to like see people from the gaming side engaging with you properly about like Minecraft and about your history of gaming, and then there being a side of Slipknot, because a lot of places seem to be like, no, you're the Slipknot guy. I want to ask you about Slipknot, and also I'm going to entertain like your Minecraft thing at the same time. But I'm really fascinated with in Vernearth, you have I'm not sure if it's an NPC you have or if it's written down on a board or something somewhere, but you have this great phrase of the canvas awaits the artist, I think it is. And like that to me really feels like, I'm curious how you felt when you first saw Minecraft from the artist's perspective of, you can literally do anything in that game. Like Redstone gives you the ability to play Doom in that game, for God's sake. So like from an
Goosebumps. You literally, there is a gentleman right now making Earth.
yeah.
Okay. And when I say he's making Earth, I mean, everyone is contributing. People, I mean, just go look at it. I mean, the detail. People are going to their house and creating their block and creating
I mean,
their.
you had cities in like Denmark and stuff creating actual replicas of their city in this game.
And why? What is that? That's ratios. That's scale. That's
Yeah.
imagination. Um, you literally can do anything in Minecraft. I saw a guy make a laptop and run Minecraft. Um, one of my favorite, it's really simple, a duplicator,
Yeah.
a rail duplicator, so this really simple thing that just spits out rails, and they shut that down. No duplication, because there's a marketplace. You have to mine a lot to get these rails. You can't just all of a sudden have 10,000 rails and do whatever. So when you say you can do everything, you can. So when you try to do everything, everything is what you'll have. And that's what I try to be as a student and a teacher, is that, I want to offer just about anything I can offer. And Minecraft offers me, an artist, the ability to exercise my subconscious in a way that I don't want to say music doesn't, because Minecraft is it's so big that it allows you to use your music.
Yeah.
When I say that, I don't mean allow like law. I mean, when I'm in the exercise of my subconsciousness of working something out, it's difficult to think in 3D. It's difficult. I don't know if you've ever sat in front of that screen, but you're creating in 3D, but the screen is as flat as it can be. And it's not until you move, or you move certain ways, can you even bring that together, that depth.
Yeah.
So as an artist, the canvas that they have given me, um, the canvas, did you lose me?
No, Eric left. I'm sure he'll be back.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Uh, so the canvas that they give me is a real challenge to open up myself in many ways all together at once. So I can incorporate, music,
Yeah.
visuals. I mean, the stuff that we have coming, you can imagine it's a soft launch right now,
Yeah.
because we don't know how many people are gonna we don't know how many people are gonna be on. We don't know if it's gonna crash. We got to move slowly, but I've created so much at once because of this canvas that we had to shut it down and determine what was important, and determine, like right now we're hoping as early as tomorrow, we're hoping that, my version of the Nether is going to be added to it, which is going to make me happy, because I like to make gold farms, and I haven't been able to make a proper real gold farm. I'm not going to waste my time with all our test crap, because
Yeah.
I'll lose my work. But now the Oblivion is up, and once the new Nether is up, I can go in, get piglins to come back, and I can start doing the stuff I love. So I'm going to be really happy. And I've been playing with the community, and they want the Nether to come up. And of course, there's a new name. And to reiterate, this canvas is, to me, I guess what I'm trying to say and what I was making with that statement, but I don't I don't say it so deeply because it's not so easily understood, is that the canvas that I'm able to listen or look at is that, for instance, there's a pig in the game.
Yeah.
And the normality of the game can cause you not to play the game, in my opinion. The grass is too green at times. So you're just, I don't have it in me to build even a house. So what did I do? I built my own block so I could introduce another version of green next to the green I love, which is their green. But how do you do that? Well, you do that with coding and understanding parameters. So this canvas isn't only me making a 3D space that I can say, hey, this is my house. This is the clown's house. So when you come in here and you see photos and you see decorations or where I put my bed, it's how I think. So I look at Minecraft in a whole different way, like that way. It's like OCD, you can get really
Yeah.
stuck in OCD and perfectionism, and you don't want that. There's no such thing as control. You got to relinquish control. And Minecraft's really good at that. When you have an all cobblestone floor, they provide for the canvas cracked cobblestone because they're trying to insinuate to you, or they're trying to tell you, don't just have your floor be cobblestone. Throw a couple cracked ones in there, like
Yeah.
reality. Mesh it
Break
up,
up
because
that pad.
yeah, make it real. So the canvas is so unbelievable because they've given you the tools without even explaining it. And you kind of start at such a basic, like, look, everything's square, and before you know it, you're doing things. But more importantly, I've taken the pig and I've made it glass. So I've made it glass so you
Yeah.
can see the pig. Why did I do that? Well, I did it because I like their pig, but I want to change it. And I'm hoping people will come on and notice that the artist has taken the liberty to be an artist with the canvas they've allowed me to have. They've allowed me to change it to glass.
Yeah.
So I want to use their pig. It's not about making a pig. I'll use their pig. It works in the game, but it's cool to change it up a little bit. Will the pig be glass forever? I don't know. I doubt it. It might be like, if you have a glass pig in a certain way, you get to keep it when we change it back to pink. I don't know. Who knows what you can invent, but I know that my brain gets to keep working with coding, not to like burn down, but to like get in there. It's not about that. It's about to add my details, to add my ornaments to the tree, to add my style of path to the path.
Yeah.
Um, it's fascinating. When you make block, I like to make spaceships. I'm really big into space. The last couple of years, really been educating myself. My daughter's really into astronomy, so it got me more interested. And so I asked one of my colleagues, we're making block, and I said, look, I need more, block that would be in a spaceship if I were in a chair. Like,
Yeah.
like, monitors and buttons and red and caution signs and man, I'm telling you, we got some of the coolest block, and I am just cannot wait to see everybody how, as an artist, I get to make a block, okay it, approve it. Sure, I'll do a build with it, but I'm not even excited to show you the block in a build I do. I'm more excited to provide the block, like Minecraft provided me a cracked cobblestone. I now picked up that ball, and am throwing that bomb to everyone, going, here's block I did. We have block that changes the game. We have block that I might have to take down because it just might be too usable in ways we didn't know.
Yeah.
And this canvas, it's not really up to me. Minecraft is everybody's, and that's what I love about it. I go on and I never tell anybody that I'm on, and it takes them less than 3 minutes. Hey, clown, and
Yeah.
I love that. I love that because I get to listen to them and watch them for a while, and they're trading properly. They're offering to work together. to trade. They're helping out builds together. They're doing like everything together. And I mean, first thing they did was build a clown town, like on the first day. I didn't ask them to do that, and I'm sure it's they're going to build this guy's town, and it was cool because they spelled the / command clown town with a C, but there's signs at the town that are spelled with a K because everybody thinks differently and everybody's allowed to think differently and everybody's allowed to be their artist. And I don't see anybody breaking down people's stuff in the community because the OCD's kicking in hardcore and maybe this person's younger and just started to learn to build and maybe doesn't have a handle on details yet. I don't see the detailed people being too crazy, perfectionism. I see everybody just doing it, and that's the artist game. That's the Renaissance game for me. And that's what I try to say in those sort of quotes is like the culture is going to help invent the lore. The culture is going to invent the community. The culture's, I mean, look, I'll tell you, we have a vampire as a mob in the game. And 2 days ago, I was watching texts of someone making the very first vampire farm. And what's weird is you can loot the vampire. He drops stuff, but it drops a certain something. I'm not sure if it rotates, so I don't know if it's one or multiples. But what I want to tell you is like, if you're building a farm, you're building a farm to get what what you're looting out of it. But now there's a high chance you're going to get that 1 in 10,000 drop of this special thing in a farm. You're going to go down to your chest and go, what? And that is just mind blowing to me. Like these little things, like I get to go look at a vampire farm, and sure, it's all based off of similar things that have been made from, iron farms or, wheat farms, cactus farms, we all have seen. But believe me, the new things are coming. New ways. We're going to have new utility and, mix it and glitchify it, as I say, with it. Smash both companies together to create an unpleasant situation that all of us will love when it's created. Sure, it might get shut down because it'll be that good. It'll upset the community in a marketplace and a behavior because it's that good. What was it in Minecraft? Was it a blue flamingo, or there was the rarest NPC or the rarest mob? I don't go online and
I don't know this.
Yeah, if you go on and research the rarest mob that shows up, I want to say it's a bird and it's like a flamingo, and there's like only one of them, and there's even in Minecraft there's all these things that and we all love that, and I'm hoping right from the get-go there's going to be things in Vernearth that are created that we had no idea. I created an S block. I created a Slipknot block where it's a black. I give away the black block that we made with a tribal S on it.
Yeah.
And I knew people were going to want it. I knew this was going to be a problem of people like asking me for it, but that's why I give it. And then I get to hold people on the truth game. I get to say, hey, you're asking for one. Have you had one before? Because you're only supposed to have one. Yeah. Everybody's only supposed to have one. Because I want to see what you guys do with them together. I'm not really talking about this, but the day after we start doing it, what did we find out right away? Everybody's stealing everybody's S block. People are coming into people's houses. They're not breaking the builds. They're not doing anything else, but they're taking those S blocks. So we already had to make an adjustment, make some community, plot stuff, claimable things where, you can work in tandem with a small amount of groups because we're going online and the community's already talking about making their own government so they can get rid of people. I mean, this is like the second day. And I'm just cheering it on. I'm like in the background going, oh my God, there's like only so many people have signed up and they already want to make their own government. I'm like, I'm fascinated. Like I am absolutely so happy I pulled the trigger and got it up.
Yeah.
And just especially before the holidays and just see, and if you go on, you'll see, oh my God, there's just so much happening of builds and stuff. So it is an artist canvas, and I look forward to meeting all these canvases and awards for best builds and most innovating thinking. Like, I want this stuff to happen there. It's going to be fun as a community. Instead of going online and having to see someone do this, hopefully they'll do it within Vernearth and show all of us.
Yeah.
Someone comes in and makes a giant laptop right there in the Oblivion for all of us, and none of us break it, or we contribute, or we help mine the things, the block that needed to make it. Maybe I can't make that redstone build, but I can sure mine. I'm in creative mode because I got to have some benefits for paying the bills.
Yeah.
So no one's giving me a hard time yet for flying around and just having endless block. But that they should like it because someone will be like, I need some black rock, and boom, I'll go over and give them blackstone or whatever, or cactus or anyway. Yeah, it is an artist canvas, and all you have to do is sign on to see it. It's quite a beautiful. I think it's a very wonderful exercise to bring a different sort of yourself out of your subconscious. It's very difficult to make things tangible. And if we are choosing to live in the digital world, which we have chosen in a very high demand that we are going to live in there, then I would say a build is tangible in a digital. I can't, in this physical reality, I can't touch that build. But if we're going to accept that we can live in there and authorize it almost, then, it is a cool exercise to bring these thoughts of artistry, throwing block made of color and utility, and making it tangible for friends and people that don't even know. I was looking at the data. We have people on from Russia, from South America, from Canada, of course, America. There's, I want to say, there was Japan. It pretty much was hitting the spectrum of wherever. And that was making me happy that the great big community of life is on there from all different walks, and that's rock and roll to me, man. Rock and roll doesn't, necessarily see a faith or a political standpoint, because I believe rock and roll respects the individual enough to, hey, okay. And we definitely, rock and roll, loves all skin color and all walks of life. And that's why I love rock and roll and music, because I get to be a part of the culture of the globe. And that's what Vernearth's going to be, just a small extension, not as good as the real thing. I always will promote reality over the digital reality. But I've been living here since that day Pong showed up. And I realized that my friend was going to be outside half the time now. So that, what was it? Super Nintendo, maybe.
Okay.
Nintendo, there was a dodgeball. And my best friend was just so good at video games. He beat me in everything. But the only game I could beat him at was dodgeball, because it had this super throw where a special combination that I mastered. He threw the ball straight up in the air out of sight. And then you're running around and it just comes down and just annihilate you. So I would just throw that move, just one after another, and of course he would say, you know, I'm a loser because that's the only thing. I'm like, hey man, you beat me in every game we play. This is the only thing I have, and yeah, I'm going to utilize it. So hey, it's yeah, gaming. It's an exercise all its own, and once in a while, some very artistic games come out, and Minecraft's at the top of that. You know,
Yeah.
at the top of mining the earth to create things in the earth. It's just like,
I do agree with you though about like the tangibility of digital stuff, like because you know you can build a house in Minecraft, and if a creeper blows up, you feel pain, and like that hurts you at like losing this thing that you created. So I fully like agree with you on like tangibility of
a
digital stuff.
a creeper is just a pure example of the things that are waiting for you right outside your front door
Yeah,
from a possible tow truck because you didn't do what you're
yep,
supposed to, or you know, hey, watch the signs at the stop sign, you know, stop when stop, don't get ran over. So I mean, a creeper is just a metaphor for just about anything that's circumstantial randomness that could take you out. And yeah, it hurts. So
yeah.
yeah, you know, we agree on that.
Okay, so Vernearth, you have mentioned elsewhere that like you've been working on this for years, and at one point you were told that your vision was too big to be able to put everything that you wanted into it, and you've now gotten to the point of launching it. And I'm just going to give a quick overview of it for like those who don't know. So it's a server that you have essentially built with your vision. It has several different areas, four of them that I know of, that you essentially want to create this thing that like people from the Slipknot community who may not know games can come and hang out, and the people from Minecraft who may not know Slipknot too much can also hang out, or if there are fans who are fans of both, then they can come hang out as well. And it's just trying to bring people together. And you've got this, like we mentioned, you've got the deathmatch area in there of the arena, and you've also got Oblivion, which is the core survival world. You've then also got a challenge thing, or that is that in yet, or is that something that's still being worked on?
So yes, what I have is too big to put up at once.
Okay,
It's artistic schizophrenia. It's
that's a
it's
good way of
yeah, it is it anybody that I've taken in and shown little bits have just, you know, they're just like, the best stuff is to come. So let's just get with let me give you the whole thing.
yeah.
So real quick, my objective was that Minecraft is an excellent way for me to touch people that don't know Slipknot and enjoy myself in a gaming community. So I would say that the people that don't know who Slipknot are going to quite possibly stumble across Slipknot themed stuff. Will Slipknot culture, which will be a small culture in the Minecraft culture, I'm thinking, because Minecraft's so big, and I'm hoping to attract people from the Minecraft culture, obviously, to get into Vernearth, because what I've given everyone is Vernearth is it's the world.
Yeah.
But when you're running around on the world, it's called Oblivion. It's the Oblivion that your feet are walking on. And that's the survival mode. So at first, I've given everybody that your regular experience that you love every day, where you can build, you can make allies, I guess you can make enemies, you can build alongside people, you can do things, all the regular stuff. Now, what you need to know on that is I've turned that on its back. I've gone in and done a lot to it. I've added 7 biomes of my own biomes that we have made.
Okay.
The way we've done that is biomes consist of a amount of blocks. So you take a forest, there could be several different trees. So you got to have enough block to make up a single tree.
Yeah.
So we have 7 biomes. One's called the Neon Wastes. I've turned just about anything I could get my hands on, from the lighting to the depth of the ocean to the height, um, to the way biomes collide. You can imagine there's a lot of parameters, but you got to do tests. And to do tests, you're talking about days. You got to up this stuff, all this block, and oh my Lord. So, what I'm telling you is the Oblivion survival mode, what you love, has been turned on its back. Now, because of that, I've also done that to the Nether. It will have a new name and it will be turned on its back. I mean, on its back. Complete new experience, but still the Nether.
Yeah.
The end, same thing. New name, new experience. Then we're going to have factions where you will have to choose a side. I'm not saying these sides necessarily attack each other or against each other. They both came from the same entity. They choose to live the way they choose to live, and the way they live is quite differently. I would say it's more about who likes the darkness underground and who might like to be above ground and have daylight, and that's just about what it is.
Yeah.
So it's going to be factions. Because there's factions, there's going to be head cities that are dedicated to themes. There's a plot world where you will most likely go on and get these tokens called scratch tokens that are given to you for the time that you've grinded. So every minute that you grind, you're going to get these scratch tokens. And when you get enough scratch tokens, you're most likely going to buy a plot in Plot World, which will be a whole different portal, and you'll go in there, you'll claim your plot. I don't want to give too much about it, but the bottom line, the theory behind it, it is this non-destructive. And you can now make a build that no one can destroy, add, or take away. They can come walk around and look at it and love it, and you can explain it. But it's really a big trophy chest. It's really for people to put the best of their artistry in a way that they know, like, this will never be destroyed. This is going to be here forever. So
Yeah.
I'm going to make, it could be anything. It doesn't matter. So that just gives you a little bit. And then, like I told you, as of right now, I have dozens and dozens of already put together PvP maps, but we just are, deathmatch maps. So that's going to be coming all the time.
Yeah.
But there's going to be an auction house. There's stores. There's so much and everything you want and everything you could ever imagine. There's T-Rexes.
Yes, there are, because they killed me, which was really like that was my first experience on Vernearth. I was like, well, this is all weird shit. And then I was like, I'm being chased by 2 dinosaurs. Okay.
You notice, well, there's a simple philosophy that has to happen in order to even get through there. So, we're embedding thought processes of art right from the get-go. Like, that's the way we're corralling, if you will, to get to the very first thing. We're trying to open the mind enough to possibility. And the very first possibility is just throw that Oblivion out. And it consisted of so many block. And then after everybody starts stealing, we had to put up some more block just to solve that. And, but that's cool. And now things are pretty stable. As you can imagine, the maintenance right now is a lot. Just being there for the kids and their cards that they're turning in. And we have gotten a lot, and we're really having to be in there and monitor a lot, as you would imagine. So the new Nether is looking good. The auction house is looking good. Things are coming. But I would say within the year, when things haven't stopped being put up, people are going to go, okay, yeah, this might be bigger than we thought it was going to be. Because you got to remember, man, I grew up the same way with World of Warcraft. I've watched all that. You know, I watched them take levels away, go back to vanilla. I did all that stuff. So I've been involved in games that have taken decades to play, and that's what this is going to be. And I got to have a little bit of everything for everybody. I mean, I have
Yeah.
the thing I'm most proud of that I'm doing is I'm creating a half dozen behavioral health games where people that, let's just say it, maybe they're a little depressed, and I want to try to offer a reward system somehow. So I have these games that are going to be being played that really take focus, and the focus will take a whole day. And there's many ways to do that. There's many ways to multitask the focus. So there's many ways to earn a winning. You could be the ultimate multitasker and get the ultimate win, or you could be the one that did this or this and get that win. But the point is if I'm speaking for me. If I'm in a mood where I'm motionless in the real world and I need to be stimulated in something like that because I'm stuck in my head,
Yeah.
but I could get in the digital world and work out my stuff. I want to try and provide something that helps that state, okay, takes your mind off of it. And then at the end of it, everybody wins, everybody gets something. And I want it to be real life stuff. You know, I want it to come in the mail, or, you know, I want to take the gaming experience a little bit different because I have the ability to do that. What does that mean? I have the ability, you know, and a small percentage of people that like what I do. On the other, you know, I can get them things they require. I don't know. It could be a signature, could be this, that. But I really want the digital to touch the real, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's how, you know, the guilt of maybe too much grinding or not enough time in the real world. I don't know, but the world's making such a move to this space. You know, I want to make sure I employ real life things. Like I'm, I put up Vernearth on December 1st because that was my dad's birthday. And it was an easy way, not for me to remember his birthday, but it was going to be an easy way for me to announce the very first, if you will, like VernCon. It won't be called VernCon, but it'll be my version of, you know, going to like a hotel and renting a thing, and everybody come as your characters, and the first year is going to be good food and ask me questions, and tell me what's up with Vernearth, and let's laugh and make it better. And I want to I want to do things like that. And maybe when I bring the culture together, we can do good things for wherever we're at, for each other, for the area we're in. We can give back in any way possible that seems fitting together, to always give back to what we're giving, which is time. And time is irreplaceable. It's a commodity, and anyone willing to share their time with me in a digital space. I mean, you know, this is incredible stuff that
Yeah.
it can't be taken lightly. So I gave you a lot. That's not even touching the surface of what it is. And then, just so you know, I am recreating my dome, which is my facility, my compound that would be in the Oblivion. And it's most likely going to be underground or up in the air, because it can't just like show up in the Oblivion and take the block. So it's going to transport, you know, just like this comet that's supposedly coming and stuff, you know, and we're recreating it because it's had to go from many different platforms over to me, and then is so big, and it's based off the theory of rails and stations and control blocks and warps and all deathmatch. Like, you're on a rail headed to this station, but I know where the control block is with the warp, and I'm going to get there before you. But I have to take this rail to that warping station
Yeah.
to get where you're going quicker. And I'm telling you, man, when you see what I made, it is pure. I would sit there before a Slipknot show in my gear, grieving or working stuff out of my head, enjoying Minecraft,
Yeah.
enjoying what I'm doing, the working out stuff in my life. And, you know, someone in my security detail, they're, Walshy's the one that comes up and says, "Hey, mate, it's time to go." And I literally, the computer stays on, my character stays in the air. I walk right off the bus, grab my mask, and I get going. And I leave it there. Okay, I leave it there. And then when the show's done, of course, there's a ritual, shower, eat, all
Yeah.
this. But I come right back to it. And everybody knows this. For the last 4 years, this is what I've been doing, was to get everything ready for this last December 1st. So I gave you a little bit. There's a hell of a lot of stuff. So if you do come on, realize that you're constantly going to be surprised. We're always working to get new things up immediately because we know it's fun. We know it just makes for a good time.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see things come up than wait forever. So anyway, there you go.
I have so many more questions, but Shawn, you've already given me so much of your time. I really should let you go. So thank you so much.
Let's do one more. Let's do one more, and then that way we know we did one more. And I'll keep it quick and precise. So if you have something you really got to get out there,
okay. For me personally, I have a really curious question, which is that you mentioned like artistic schizophrenia and stuff, and I really want to ask you about how your creative process keeps you focused on one task rather than half finishing something and going to the other. But you've done so much art, and you've made like movies, you've done album covers, photography, and all this stuff. There's too many questions that I really want to ask you. I think if I had to narrow it down, the one for me personally would be, what was it like making Officer Downe with such an incredible cast of actors and actresses? Like, was that different from making music videos in a way that you weren't expecting, or were you able to like take those skills across, like just the whole process?
of course, we could talk about this all night. I'll give you the nutshell.
Yeah.
You couldn't have picked a better thing out of all the art. You couldn't have picked the better question for all of it, for one answer. And that is, for me, directing is the single-handed most art I could ever do in a single day. I would do so much art in a day on the set that I would go home to watch my dailies. Maybe I'd have a beer to unwind or something.
Yeah.
And I'd go up to my room to watch my dailies. And I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning with my shoes on and my jacket. And my art brain was just fried because of how hard I had to work it every day. So the very first day I showed up on set, all my producers who gave me the gig, they just threw me to the wolves. They didn't give me anything. I didn't go to school. I didn't go to anything. I just had practical street knowledge of making videos and writing treatments. And mainly the reason why I even direct is because, I've given people chances of what I thought maybe our aesthetic was. Our aesthetic really can be anything to anyone, but I really wanted to hold true to what I felt, and that's sort of what I do. So I just ended up having to step up and do, direct to make sure these aesthetics that I was creating were maintained. So when I got to the set the first day, they knew it. The best thing to do was just throw me right in it, and they threw me in a really difficult situation, which was the police station when the lieutenant meets the cadet for the first time and gives him the detail. And that I just didn't even know what I was doing. And I had to walk the actors through and make up stuff. And I'm telling you, man, what happened was a guy came up to me in props and said, "Hey, man, the lieutenant has a writing utensil. What do you want?" And I'm like, "Yo, I'm super stressed out. Don't bother me with this." And they're like, "Whatever. The script says," and I was like, "Literally, you're bothering me with this? You know, I'm over here with wardrobe right now, going mad." And they're like, "Listen, you can have anything you want." I'm like, "Okay, fine. Leave me alone. I just get a number 2 yellow pencil, number 2."
Yeah.
They're like, "Okay, that's what you get, number 2." And then they walked away, and I go, "Stop." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Anything?" And they're like,
Yeah, because it's all
"Anything."
important.
Right. And you got to remember, man, I'm just stressed out. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not at that layer yet. But at this moment, I go, "Stop." And I turn around because my gut instinct's feeling something. I just looked at, Tyler, I think his name was, and I was just like, "Yo, man, anything?" And he's like, "Anything, man." And I go, "How about one of these?" And he goes, "No problem, man." And so he brought me like 8. And I thought that
Yeah.
was interesting. I'd never seen a display of normal ballpoint pens in my entire life. It was so important. And this is stuff that's just sitting around a desk. So anyway, I pick one. And if you go back and you watch the movie, the reason why I asked for it is because I thought it'd be fun for the lieutenant to maybe do this intellectual property thing in my brain. Like what I'm doing is she's doing that sort of, you think she's got a nervous tick? No, it's just the opposite. She's trying to see if she can spin him out.
Yeah.
Like, is he paying attention enough to even pick this up? Or has he got enough to just let this go to pay attention to the bigger thing? So I thought I'd play off of something like that. So if you watch the movie, you'll see, and it's a close up several times. And from that moment on, the first day, I was probably a good 3-4 hours in before that happened. And yeah, that is the greatest thing I've had in my life, because I get to work with words. I get to work with single photos. I get to work with moving pictures. I get to act possibly. I get to work with actors. I get to work with music. I get to work with props,
Yeah.
stunt, SFX, um, you name it. If wardrobe, one of my favorite. Then if you watch Officer Downe, one of my producers took me out somewhere way outside LA, closer to Riverside or San Bernardino, some junkyard that had a lot of military vehicles. And I picked that vehicle that's in Officer Downe, and then I have them paint it, and I have them put the teeth in the front, like my love for Apocalypse Now. And you just get to paint, man. And if you watch that movie, you'll see Rembrandt photos blown up as complete walls because of my love for Rembrandt. And you get to blow your brains out as an artist. And yeah, it's the ultimate art creating. But man, I love music. Music's my God. Frequency's my God. So music's on a level, I can do it by myself. I don't need
Yeah.
to do it with others. I don't need to share it. I don't need to show it. I don't need to record it. It doesn't need to be offered for free or for money. I can just be it, and it really helps me. So that's on its own level. But after that, directing as a director, wow, just unbelievable. And that experience was one of the best experiences in art in my life. And because of that experience, a lot of people around me think that I'm really good at that. And we've been trying, but I always keep my priorities set. And Slipknot's been my priority always. So, if we're doing Slipknot business, my personal art always takes, a seat. But
Yeah.
that's, I wanted to, it's the way it goes. Because of Slipknot, have been allowed to do so many wonderful things. But I was going to say, because of that question, I've written a script, a couple of them. We got a couple things that we're working with, and I have a movie that's been rewritten that I'm going to do. And so anyway, I'm going to be getting back into it here pretty quick, hopefully, if all the time and things align perfectly. And, I look forward to doing it because I get to exercise what I love to do and then offer it to, everybody. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that question, because that honestly, that creation of that art, it has a lot to do with the ability of me being disciplined for the how many years it took for the reward of creating Vernearth. It wasn't the money involved in creating it is unbelievable. Of what it costs to make a server, to get a T-Rex in there is not an easy job. But you know what? I don't care. You only live once. Time's a commodity, and I want to
Yeah.
make an experience that's original. And I'm not going to let anything stand in my way. I want to enjoy myself with people that enjoy themselves in the platform I made. So anyway, thank
Oh,
you.
man.
And
Thank you so much for your time.
yeah, let's do this again sometime. Eric can do this. Maybe we can get together first part of the year, and after this hits and does what it needs to do for you, um, do it again and hit the things you didn't hit. So I love to talk, obviously, and hopefully we did it. And I look forward to see what you did, and have a safe Christmas, and see you in the new.
How was that? That was wild for me to spend that long talking to this man, and I'm really hoping that 2026 has a lot in store for us. Thank you so much for every piece of support you gave us this year. We hope you have a great end of this year, and we'll see you next year.